York. Mr. Garbarino is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the witnesses for being here. Ms. Hugh, I want to start with you. When we talk about this issue, no matter what trendy new terms or acronyms we're using, I think we're all mostly in agreement that we should be doing more on the make smart, upfront investments in homes and infrastructure that will ultimately save lives and taxpayer dollars, and do it in a way that's not burdensome for homeowners or consumers. For instance, we have all heard that the stat that says $1 spent on resilient construction will save $11 in future costs. But I think we often talk about this in a context of new construction, which, while very important, results in us losing focus on existing homes and ensuring we're giving folks the tools they need to upgrade older homes that were built long ago. Can you talk about the costs to homeowners and, frankly, all Americans if we continue to ignore older homes and just focus on new homes?
Thank you very much for the question. I really do think, as I stated earlier, that if we can offer some sort of incentives and things like that to existing homeowners to upgrade their HVAC unit to increase the energy efficiency of their home. Right now, the 2021 Energy Code has us going from 5 air changes to 3 air changes in a home. If you've got a window cracked, that could be 30 air changes. A house built in 1970 probably has 30 or 40 air changes in an hour. So if we could increase the efficiency of those homes, it would go a long way in helping with climate change. Existing homes are already so energy efficient. You're really just tweaking something that's not going to make a big difference in the energy efficiency of a home, but it's going to cost a lot to new construction.
Thank you. And I just had to have my air condition fixed. I think it's 30 some odd years old. It's a tank, but it's definitely, I'm sure, not very efficient. I'd like to move on to something, we just talked about new construction a little bit and making home costs more affordable and, just better for Americans. In New York, there's talk of, and I know my colleague brought up, the ban on gas stoves. Currently, between 60 and 70% of New York families have a natural gas stove. State of New York, the governor and the legislature recently pushed through a gas stove ban for new buildings in its most recent budget. This first-in-the-nation ban will increase energy costs for New Yorkers, stress the electric grid, and eliminate consumer choice, all while having a minimal environmental impact. Furthermore, adding further government red tape and regulation to new construction will further drive up housing costs that prices working families out. Unfortunately, we're seeing this same ill-advised policies pushed on the federal level as well, with recent efforts from the Department of Energy and Consumer Product Safety Commission. How do these efforts, Ms. Huey, affect the housing industry, and if implemented, would these efforts drive up costs on Americans?
Thank you again, sir, for the question. Many home buyers want gas stoves in their homes, and I know that I do. As a home builder, I believe it is my job to provide my customers with appliances of their choice. Gas stoves are used by 40 million homes nationwide and have proven to be safe and efficient appliance of choice for families for well over a century. The recent push from federal agencies to regulate gas stoves will drastically limit their availability across the country. Recently, I built a home last year or I guess in the last 6 months, for someone, custom home, and she loves to cook, put a gas, wanted the gas stove, and we're walking through, going through the walkthrough, and she looked at me and she said, "Is the government really going to take my gas stove from me?" And I said, "No, ma'am, they're not. Thank you."
In New York City's trying to get rid of coal-fired pizza, or brick oven pizzas. It's terrible. Last question, Monsieur, for you. We often overly rigid local environmental and land use standards prevent homeowners from being able to make responsible decisions to reduce their risks in their homes from devastating natural disasters. One example is California, where stringent building requirements have hampered infill growth in areas at low risk of wildfires and instead driven homeowners into the highly vulnerable wildland-urban interface, putting them at increasing risk of extreme wildfires. Can you talk about the importance of giving communities the flexibility to foster development that lets them be more self-sufficient and protect themselves in the face of things like deadly floods, wildfires, and tornadoes?
Yes, thank you again, sir, for the question. Yes, I believe, and I discussed that a little bit earlier, and I believe it's in my written testimony, giving local jurisdictions the choice of certain codes that they impose, I think, is imperative, because the climate in every municipality is different. Even in my state, from cold weather I'm from Alabama, from Huntsville down to Mobile, where it's warmer. So I think it's imperative that we give the choice to those local municipalities. Thank you.
The gentleman's
Thank you. I yield
time's
back.
expired. The gentlewoman